We have multiple New York Yankees updates as there's another update on the Marcus Stroman trade saga, along with the Yankees' continued interest in Brendan Rodgers, and a report that has revealed new targets such as Paul DeJong and Brooks Raley. And we are going to break all this down because we have a lot to talk about, so let's jump right into it. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Yankees Digest. It's Chris here. And if you guys like the content, make sure to subscribe. I know I ask all the time, but it does help the channel out a ton. 16.5% of people watching this are subscribed. But let's jump into this because we have a ton of news to break down for the New York Yankees. There's been multiple reports revealing new targets for the New York Yankees. Meanwhile, we've seen more about the New York Yankees, their interest in trading away Marcus Stroman and trying to sign infielder Brendan Rodgers along with these new targets now that we know. So let's jump into it, guys. So in a ton of different reports, essentially starting with John Heyman and the Stroman news, Heyman mentioned the Yankees are trying to trade Marcus Stroman still and are willing to pay down some of that $18 million salary. Should they save some money there, the Yankees would have more to spend on an infielder, though don't expect Alex Bregman or Nolan Arenado. Now, obviously, we all know Arenado is not going to be a Yankee, and none of us really are expecting Bregman at this point. Look, I wish the Yankees would spend the money on Bregman. I do, because he'd help. He just would be a huge help to this team. It would continue to create an elite defensive infield. However, the New York Yankees are not going to be doing that. I don't know why they're acting like they don't have any money to spend. They absolutely could spend the money on Alex Bregman. He's not going to make insane money. That's why he's still a free agent, because he's looking for more money than what he's being offered right now. The New York Yankees could totally sign Alex Bregman to some 7-year contract, and it would be a helpful deal for them. But they're not going to do it because apparently they're out of money, despite the fact that they offered Juan Soto $750 million. Apparently, they've spent too much now. All right, Hal, thanks. I completely disagree with that notion, but there's nothing we can do to stop that. So, looking at other guys, there's a bunch of middle, lower tier guys that the Yankees are targeting who are cheaper, shorter term options. I don't know why they don't just go for Oswald Peraza at this point and just use him. Doesn't make sense to me. However, looking at some of these options, which we're going to do, there are some that make sense. Now, just diving more into this news because we just have so many reports to break down. The Athletic mentioned, starting with continuing with Stroman, the problem with the Yankees trading Stroman is the $18 million player option they included in his contract if he pitches 140 innings in 2025. A team that acquired Stroman would need to accept it might be getting him for 2 years. The team would not be trading for Stroman to pitch 130 innings, work in long relief, or remain with the club for 2 months, then get released. And while the team could limit Stroman to 5-inning starts and skip him on occasion, the goal of a trade seemingly would be for him to pitch well enough to gain the option. Now, here's the deal with Stroman. The whole thing is, as mentioned here, the Yankees, they want to move Stroman, and any team that wants Stroman is going to take a chance at the fact that he was an all-star in 2023 and looked really good for the first half of the season because there are teams that could use the starting pitching help. There's contenders that could use more starting pitching, and they would be interested in Stroman to at least try and see if they can get some sort of stability out of him to help their pitching situation. Now, Stroman, we're going to make this a little bit bigger. Stroman, well, not a great year for him. He pitched well at the beginning of the season, then started to really fall apart. It feels like he gets rattled so easily. His whip was really not good. The ERA was a 4.31, which is not good as well. Stroman did struggle a lot. He actually ended up pitching one game as a closer for the Yankees at one point. Excuse me. But the New York Yankees, well, they're in a spot where they don't need Stroman. They have 5 great starting pitchers. They have Garrett Cole, who might be the best starting pitcher on the planet. They have Max Fried, who's a top 10 guy. They have Carlos Rodon, who bounced back very well. They have Clark Schmidt, who had a great ERA. And they also have Luis Gil, the Rookie of the Year. The Yankees do not need Marcus Stroman. So they want to move him, obviously, and get rid of that money so they can spend it somewhere else. The problem is, it's going to be hard to find a team that's willing to take that Marcus Stroman money. It just is. So where the Yankees are at, they're going to need to figure out a way to do that. I think they'd be able to. I really think they'll have to pay like $7 million of it this year. However, I do think they would be able to get it off. I think there's going to be a team that is interested enough in Stroman. The problem is there's a ton of starting pitchers out there who are at Stroman's level or better still, which makes things complicated. So it feels like this is a move the Yankees won't be able to get done for a little bit longer. I'll be honest, I do think the Yankees are going to trade Stroman. I just don't think it's going to be anytime like very soon, if you ask me. I'd be surprised if it is, but you never know with the New York Yankees. Meanwhile, jumping back into some more updates on the New York Yankees, taking a look at what The Athletic said, the Yankees want to clear money for an infielder and not a particularly high-priced one. According to sources briefed on their plans, perhaps they could get the player they want by finding another club to swap inflated contracts. Barring that, any trade of Stroman likely would need to account for not only his $18 million salary in 2025, but also the possibility of him earning $18 million in 2026. The Yankees would need to pay down some of the remaining obligation, and the more money included, the less they would serve for their purpose. So it just feels like at this point, the Yankees are going to have to find an infielder elsewhere, not using Marcus Stroman to get one. Now, Jon Heyman talked about that and said if there's no Stroman deal, they'd still have to be spending money on an infielder, and the Rockies, Brendan Rodgers, and Paul DeJong, who ended last season with the Royals, are among decent options that the Yankees are considering. Now, we know about Brendan Rodgers. We've seen this already. Brendan Rodgers is sure, good fielder, all right base runner. Sure, I guess. Remember, his numbers got inflated by the fact that he played in Colorado. I don't think this is a great move for the Yankees. I'm not enticed by Brendan Rodgers. I don't think the Yankees are going to sign Brendan Rodgers. The OPS is solid for a guy who is a second baseman. But again, counting the fact into he did this in Colorado, it worries me. I'm not really a big fan of this move at all. I don't think it makes a ton of sense for the New York Yankees to go for Rodgers. And we've also talked about this in the past, so we're going to move on. Now, Paul DeJong is someone who's a one-time All-Star, given that was many, many years ago now. He's 31 years old. He was an All-Star around 23, 24 years old. Had a pretty bad WAR last year in 445 at-bats, so he did play. He just didn't have a huge effect on winning. Obviously, it's been part of the year with the White Sox, so not shocking there. However, second half of the season with the Royals, where he played actually a tiny bit worse, his OPS was 703, which is below average, but it's not terrible. The slugging percentage was actually pretty good. The on-base percentage wasn't great. The batting average isn't great. So, again, it doesn't solve the fact that you need a contact hitter. Paul DeJong does not help that at all. He did have 24 home runs, which is nice. I'd rather him over Brendan Rodgers for sure, because you can get a little more power in your lineup, and that's not the worst thing in the world. Though you would have to stick him towards the back end of the lineup just because the Yankees need contact hitting on this team. They don't have that much of it. And DeJong doesn't solve that problem. Something cool that he does do is he'd be able to play third base for the Yankees, so the Yankees could move Jazz Chisholm to second base, which I would like to see them do because second base is a more important fielding position. So DeJong does solve that issue. Look, if he's a bridge guy for a year, or if you pick him up and you look to even trade him halfway through the season, or just find a guy better than him, you look to replace him halfway through the season, I don't hate the idea of it. I really don't. It's just, I don't want Paul DeJong to be their third baseman for the entirety of next season. It's just, it doesn't move the needle at all, and it doesn't help the fact that the Yankees need contact hitting. Again, he gives them a bit of a jolt of power, but it's just not that, it's not that enticing of a move. It's fine, I guess. But taking another look at something when moving away from these hitters, we also have the fact that The Athletic reported that free agent left-handed reliever Brooks Raley has discussed multi-year arrangements with some clubs. Raley's 36 years old and had Tommy John surgery in May. He hopes to be ready to pitch in games at the early start of July. People briefed on the matter said that clubs known to be interested in him are the Chicago Cubs and the New York Yankees. The Yankees have checked in along with the Cubs. So Raley could be a guy the Yankees target. I still want the Yankees to bring back Tim Hill. This is a situation where I think you try to bring in both guys because, well, why not? The Yankees should have more than one left-handed reliever in their bullpen. What if Tim Hill comes back and gets rattled around and hits a slump or something, then you don't have a lefty reliever? It's why you should go for two of them. Could also go for Chafin, who's not exactly the greatest relief pitcher of all time. Didn't have a great year last year, but again, gives you another lefty option. I would love to see the Yankees sign Raley along with Tim Hill. I think that would be a good move for them. Get two lefties in the bullpen. And look, Raley was good last time that he played like a full season with the New York Mets. When he played his last full year, he had a 2.80 ERA, 61 strikeouts, and 3 saves. His strikeouts per 9 were great at over 10. His home runs per 9 were great. The man was a very, very good pitcher for the New York Mets, and I would like to see the Yankees go after him. If they have to wait for him to recover from Tommy John till July, so be it. I'll trust in waiting for him and hoping that he can return to form. I don't think he'd be on an expensive contract. Even if it's a multi-year deal, it'd be like 2-3 years, not too much money away. Yankees get another solid guy in the bullpen. You continue to build up that bullpen, make an elite bullpen. Look, the Yankees hitting got worse with losing Juan Soto. There's no way around it. But their pitching got better. Their defense has gotten better. Continue to make a great, sound defensive team. And then if you need more contact or power after the offseason's over, if you don't solve it then, you could look at the trade deadline for someone. I think that's a solid, fine move for the Yankees. I didn't know which word to go with, so I went with sign move. But you guys know what I meant. Look, it would be a good idea for the New York Yankees to go after him. I like this idea by the Yankees. I like the fact that the Yankees are helping out their defense a lot. I think the offense could still use a little bit of a jolt, but they do have Aaron Judge, which does help things. I do want to know what you guys think, though. Would you guys like any of these moves? What are your favorites out of these? Do you want Brooks Raley? Let me know in the comments down below. Like this video, subscribe, turn on post notifications if you guys are enjoying. Have a great day, and go Yankees.